Howdy, 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 everybody, and welcome to the A51 YAS Community Series, round number 2 here at the Mini Tricky Triangle here at Concord. The buzzing of the MX-5 engines are ringing in your ears. I'm Austin. I'm joined by Tyler Maxson, and we are here for a wonderful, fantastic evening here at Concord Speedway.
We certainly are, Austin. We are just getting through practice. Now we got 5 minutes left on the practice sheets. Here's the race info for you today. 50 degrees track temperature, and it's 26 degrees Celsius in the air. It is a triangle, like you said, and it's the first time we're going to an oval this season. Partly cloudy skies, 3 kilometers of wind, so nothing wind-wise that these drivers are going to have to worry about. I think the main thing they're going to have to worry about is pile-ups on the front straightaway.
Yeah, you would expect it being an oval. There's going to be cautions. Well, let me tell you, it's going to be 20 minutes of flat-out racing. No yellow flags are going to be happening. No restarts. Just one start. It's going to be beautiful.
Certainly is, and as we just wait on practice to wind down, we'll go ahead and run you through our championship standings here today. Austin, take us through it.
After last week at Daytona, Aaron Rodgers sits on top of the championship standings, followed up by Jeff Mills, Owen Watts, Austin Burdick, Timothy Barnes, Jonas Seeger, Rachel Williams, Austin Bellek, Joe LaPhilippe, Bradley Yeo, Scott Yost, Brian Zimmerman, Jamone Banks, Blake Bottoms, Jeremy Root, Eric Whiting, Austin Kelly, Roger Gregory, Douglas McClellan, Jacob Porter, Nick Parsay, Bruce Rogers, Scott Dodd, Jason Bursch, and Brandon Stokes in P25. And all of them are separated by, drum roll please, 1 point.
So there really isn't anything separating your field here today. And as we just wait on practice, we got another 3 minutes of it. Let's kind of jump on board with one of these drivers and see what they're coping with here at this track. It's a very tough track, this one is. Let's ride on board with your current pace setter, Brian Bottoms. He'll wind down into the tricky left-hand turn 1, then into another tricky left-hander for turn 2, and then finally we're going to end it out with another third tricky left-hander. So there's a whole lot to this track, as you can see, and we do this for 20 minutes tonight.
It's going to be a real endurance race. 18-second laps, 20 minutes for 18 seconds. If you do the quick math, that's going to be about 100 laps or so.
Yeah, they are
here
definitely
around Concord.
Yeah, they're definitely in for a lot of laps here at Concord, considering we are just about 28 minutes in, and they have rocked in at the moment, the driver who has the most laps is your current fastest lap setter. He's currently actually tied for fastest lap with Aaron Rodgers, but Blake Bottoms, he has got nearly 75 laps logged, but you can just see it by the track map there, up in the top right-hand corner of your screen. He gets done with a lap here very, very quickly. And like you said, being at 18 seconds, they're going to do a ton of laps here tonight, being that there won't be any cautions.
Yeah, there's no lap limit here, so we're going to have a little bit of game over-under. I said they're going to get over 100 laps easily here today, unless there's going to be a few incidents throughout the field, because there are not going to be any cautions. And if you saw in our little bit of a warm-up, there have been a few incidents. As we can see, there's a car stopped on the front straightaway.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the biggest things here tonight. I believe we have a closed qualifying session for the drivers. I think you can confirm to me that, Austin. We do.
We do.
So that at least means that there won't be anything to be gained from a draft in qualifying. If you could even get a draft around this track, I don't even know if that's possible, to be honest with you. But yeah, this is definitely not anything like, I would say, the iRacing community or really anyone on iRacing, I'm sure, has thought about before this league decided to put, there, let's go put 20 MX-5s at Concord. But hey, it's a great idea, and it's going to put up some exciting racing here tonight for sure.
It's going to be a race remembered by all of us here at Apex Racing TV and the YAS Racing Association and the A51 group. All these guys are going to have a good time. It's checkered flag for the practice session. So let's hop on to qualifying here at Concord. It's going to be a low qualifying, so let's do a in-depth analysis of the Concord track.
So you can see here, we're going to go up on the chopper camera, because I think this really does give one of the best perspectives of the track. I mean, you can see everything the track has to offer, more or less, all in pretty much one big, nice camera shot here. And whenever we have just one car on a qualifying, you can just really see the drivers and what their preferred lines would be. Obviously, most of these drivers are going to be running the low to high, back down to the low line, and then they'll be back out onto the straightaway once again. It's a very, very quick lap here at Concord. Current pace setter is Brian Zablowski.
Yeah, Brian Zablowski is currently in P1, and something interesting about Concord, the bankings in each turn are completely different, and each turn is completely different from the other one. The first turn's a very high bank, very sharp corner, and then the second turn is even higher bank, but it's just a kink. It's just a left-handed kink. And then the last corner is a long left-hander at another bank. And just like we had at Daytona Road, it is going to be a standing start. So if you remember the chaos that brought up at the start of this race, think about what it's going to cause for the drivers qualifying in the midfield or at the end, because they're going to be starting on that banked corner. So there's going to be a lot of chaos and wheel spin happening in these MX-5s as we're riding on board with Blake Bottoms.
So we have the onboard helmet cam shot for you tonight. He's currently sitting in second, and that's all he's going to be able to get out of that MX-5 here tonight. Will Blake Bottoms. He has all three of his laps finished up. Brian Zablowski, he will, at this point, start at a pole. Blake Bottoms, at least, won't better him. And I don't believe Michael Crafton will either. Jeff Mills, he's going to jump up into third place here right now. But we have a lot of drivers who are yet to set a lap time. I wonder if these drivers are just waiting on the track possibly to cool off a little bit. Maybe they know something that we don't.
Maybe they're waiting on track to cool off. Maybe they're just sitting this qualifying out, or they're still working on the setup and somebody shared something during that practice session that's getting a lot of people out there. Currently have drivers out on track, but we have about 8 drivers. No, we have 9 drivers that have not stepped out onto the track at all. We have some people that set laps, but they've invalidated them, I believe, because they hit the wall. Because you can't really invalidate a lap here unless you hit the wall, because there are no off-track penalties here at Concord and no cutting course penalties.
Yeah, the only penalty that you'll get here at Concord is if you do just that. Hit a wall.
Great segues.
And,
Great
yeah, it was a perfect segue. I really want to thank whoever that was. I think that was Jonas Seeger. Yes, it was. I want to thank Jonas here. He gave an absolute perfect transition to into what I was exactly going to say. The only thing really that can hurt you here is putting a car into the wall. As Owen Watts, though, he doesn't put his car into the wall. He goes on pole by one of the largest gaps we see in the entire field. He's at 6/1000ths of a second. So being that is one of the largest, that just shows how tight this field really, really is and how tight racing at the Concord circuit can be.
Yeah, he's leading by 6/100ths of a second. Sorry to correct you right there, but it is 6/100ths of a second. But going down the current qualifying, the gap to the leader from last place to first place, not even a second.
So there you go. You can actually see the gap to the leader right there. Yeah, like you said, it's not even a second. Actually, make that 0.8 of a second from the back of the field. Actually, 9.7. So we're nearly a second, but we're not too far off. But the driver who is in second, which is Yaman Banks, he is only 8.2 of a second. That's really not far at all when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, but that could mean that he goes several laps down in this race, and that's something to keep in mind, that whenever you have a track this short, when you're 8 or 7 tenths off the pace, it's easy to go down a lap quite quickly.
It's definitely going to be very easy to go down a lap here because 1 second can cost, in 18 laps, you're swooped up by the leaders. And in a 20-minute race around a track that takes 18 seconds, 1 second is a massive gap to the leaders because in just such a small lap, if you're losing by 1 second, something's not right. We have 4 guys that have not come out of their qualifying box. I think they will be starting from the very end of those current laps. Current drivers are Eric Whiting, Austin Beloke, Nick Barcet, and Jeremy Root.
So we have a few more drivers that would just set a qualifying. Oh, there we go. So the session has been advanced. And let's get ready to take you through the grid order today. We're just waiting on our grid to be finalized. Austin, take us through it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are ready for a wonderful evening. Owen Watts is on pole, followed up by Brian Svetsky, Blake Bottoms, Jeff Mills, Aaron Rodgers, Ethan Souza, Michael Crafton, Scott Dodge, Jonas Seeger, Alex C. Harris, Brian Zimmerman in P12. They're followed up by Josh Gosselin, Jake Brooks, Andrew Gustafson, Bradley Yeo, Dwayne Kinner, Douglas McLaughlin, Rachel Williams, Bruce Rogers, Jeremy Banks, Rocky Hartpence, Nick Barcet, Austin Beloke, Jeremy Root, and Eric Whiting at the end of the grid. And as I said at the end, while in qualifying, those drivers at the end, in that very back yellow section, this is a standing start. They're starting on banking, and if you remember all the chaos that happened in Daytona Road, it's going to be crucial to get your wheel spin right and down. So as the drivers are getting ready, I say let's go onto the track and let's have some fun. Okay.
So we do actually have a rolling start here for you tonight. Something a little bit new. We have a rolling start here, so that is going to make things easier for drivers, I think that we could say, but this could also be a little bit more of an opportunity maybe for the drivers that are on the outside road to possibly get a bit better start and be able to move themselves up the grid order. But right now, the pace car should be peeling off here on the next lap. The light should go out on the iRacing pace car, and then we will see a green flag in the air. It is Brian Zimmerman and Owen Watts who are currently on the front row. I don't even know how this race is going to end.
It's going to end with one MX-5 above the others, making some good old donuts in the front stretch while there are other cars just left out. The Mustang pulls off. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to go tricky triangle racing as Owen Watts leads him to the front of the field. I'm going to do this one time and one time only. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing.
And they're all going to cycle down and towards turn number 1. Everyone gets through there cleanly, and it doesn't look like we have contact really anything further back. So everyone actually, above my expectations, has somehow survived the opening lap thus far. It's still currently Owen Watts who leads. Brian Zabrowski down in second. Blake Bottoms in third. Jeff Mills and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers, though, he's actually going to move on to fourth. And Mills now will round out your top 5.
It's a great start by everyone at the front of the field, the rear of the field as well. Everyone being very clean. Nose to tail racing here at the front. Watts and Svetsky are running away as Bottoms, Rogers, Mills, Crafton, and Souza are all packed. And we got a beautiful pack racing here. But it's all going to come down to when that first car is going to get turned. And that first incident, you just see the icy blue flamed car of Crafton on the back of Mills, just trying to get any ground on that inside line.
And let's actually ride on board here then with Aaron Rodgers. Actually, we're going to jump back here. We're going to ride on board with Jeff Mills so you can just see how much they have to work the steering wheel here. And you can see a battle from the onboard perspective, but we got to jump back up here to the front because they're side by side. They'll make that tree wide now for the race lead.
Watts swinging around the outside, but Bottoms and Lesky, these two guys are having a great time, and now the front leading pack is to 10 cars.
So a 10-car leading pack now up front. Owen Watts still leads him. He's fighting off Blake Bottoms here. Bottoms now has the inside down and towards turn number 1. Watts is going to feed it around the outside here into 2, but no, he's going to slot back in line. New race leader, Blake Bottoms.
Bottoms take it to the bottom of the track in a very nice way. And look behind him. Rogers, Sylvester, Crafton, Mills, and Silza, all of them are going 2 wide, making 3 wide heading into turn 1. Michael Crafton stuck in the middle there, nowhere to go. The thing is, here at Concord, the track is actually very wide. You can't go 3 wide here. It's just going to slow you down. It's going to slow you down a lot, and you can see a few cars entering the pit road. That just shows you how low these guys are attacking that final corner.
Yeah, they really are attacking the final corner quite aggressively then. Let's jump back up to the front. Look at this. Michael Crafton and Jeff Mills, nearly contact made there. They keep it clean, though, and Michael Crafton will move up into the 4th position.
Great move by Michael Crafton. Jeff Mills under pressure from Ethan Souza. Looking back through the field, Jonas Seeger, we saw him having a few trouble in practice, but he's kept it clean. We got a slow car at the very bottom. I believe that is Bruce Rogers. Yes, it is.
So the slowing Bruce Rogers then on the bottom line. Luckily, he gets out of the way of your race leaders, doesn't interfere with the front battle at this point. And right now you can see the biggest gap is now 4 seconds. And that is between Yost and McLaughlin here. So, but everyone else staying within a few tenths of each other. You can just see how big that front gap is. But the front 4 now are starting to stretch away. It's Bottoms, Watts, Rogers, and Crafton. That is your front 4 at the moment. But look at this. Blake Bottoms and Owen Watts were side by side there momentarily. But Watts backed out of it.
That's a lapped car that Bottoms has passed, actually. Bottoms being chased by Watts. Watts half a second, 6/10, 7/10 behind him. Blake Bottoms has got a perfect setup right now because Watts and Rogers are swapping out for P2. Rogers, the championship leader currently by 1 point, is trying to get as many points as he can to chase down Blake Bottoms. And Blake Bottoms currently in the championship. He's not doing that well, and this is going to be great points for him because he's currently sitting 14th in the championship.
Yeah, but that first round at Daytona really was the crucial one, though, wasn't it, Austin? Because now you're so far behind in the championship, and like you had said at the beginning of the broadcast, we just don't have any sort of gaps, really. I mean, there's a 1-point gaps between everyone, so there's no points really to be made up. If you didn't have a good first round, it's going to be very hard for you to rebound from that one, especially if you only do good on, say, the ovals. If you're just one of the oval masters, then it's just going to be hard for you in those road courses because you only get 1 drop.
Yeah, we only get 1 drop, and the points are separated by position. So if you finish first, you get 43 points like Aaron Rodgers did. Second, 42. Third, 41, and on and on and on. So it's going to be very high map times. You can just see the slow cars are piling up at the top of the track, and it's going to get a little bit dicey throughout the races. We're 5 minutes into this race, and we are already at 18 laps completed here at Concord.
And you can just see now those tires are starting to get a little bit worn off, those MX-5s at the moment. And they're starting to have to fight the cars that little bit more. And as these tires get more and more worn, keep in mind we're only 6 minutes in right now of a 20-minute race. We're currently 19 laps through. This is going to nearly be a 70 or 80 lap race, I think, in the end. So when you factor all of that in, it's going to be a very difficult time for these drivers because they aren't going to be coming into the pit lane. They're going to have to fight those 70 or 80 lap old tires.
And fight the traffic and incidents as well. There's cars already in the pits because they have had incidents. Owen Watts defending from a charging Crafton, setting up the inside into the final corner.
So there you go, Michael Crafton. He wants to get up into 3rd place here at Concord, and he's going to just do that. Michael Crafton up to third. Keep an eye out for him because he's really got some speed right now, and he's closing in on second place Aaron Rodgers, who is kind of maintaining a gap to Blake Bottoms. So we may see Michael Crafton make a run here for the race lead.
Yeah, Michael Crafton, he's been showing a lot of pace. His qualifying time didn't really show what he was capable of, but in a pack racing, he's been just very crafty with his overtaking. But can anyone catch Bottoms? Bottoms in his pace, he's just pulling away. It's just the lap cars in front of him, causing a little bit of trouble for him. And this might get a little bit dicey as Bottoms dives to the bottom of the track underneath that lap car. And that's the Star Wars car.
And that actually kind of hurt then the two behind him of Crafton and Rogers. The lap car gets out of the way. That was Nick Barce. But he gets out of the way this time. Now it's just Michael Crafton trying to close up the gap on Aaron Rodgers. He's down to 0.3 of a second. So these front three, the front second and third, could become first, second, and third because look at the gap to Rodgers. It's coming down, but Crafton's touched the wall. That's going to cost him some speed.
Yeah, he's got some damage to the front right, but the top speed here doesn't mean jack because you don't reach it at all. You're all in one gear the entire time of this small lap here at Concord Speedway. So the front end damage and aero damage that you're going to get doesn't mean anything. It only matters if you get suspension damage here at Concord. But it is going to hurt him a lot. But he is still on the charge on the back of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he certainly is indeed then. Is Michael Crafton, but he is certainly close to Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he is. Let's ride on board then with Michael Crafton, and we'll see if we can catch him making the move live on board.
They're just kissing that apron, flattening out just a little bit, using that setup to an advantage. A little bit of wider line for Aaron Rodgers. Crafton's got a great run. Just look at the gaggle of cars ahead of him. The Blake Bottoms is 3 wide into the lead, and here comes Crafton. Crafton 3 wide on the bottom. He's got a slow car up ahead. Crafton's going to shoot up all the way into the track, and Crafton is now in P2.
And look at this. Aaron Rodgers, he's gotten held up by, I think that was Rachel Williams then, just trying to get out of the way on the bottom. Couldn't quite do it quick enough though, and that's going to cost Rodgers some time, so I don't think he's going to be able to have a charge back towards Michael Crafton, but I don't even think it would have happened anyway because look at the pace that Michael Crafton has. He's now 0.7 of a second behind your race leader.
Crafton is putting in lap after lap, consistent laps. Not as fast as Blake Bottoms. Blake Bottoms' last lap was a 19-second, as Crafton is 18.7. He's dealing with these lap cars much better than Blake Bottoms, but now they're going to have some clean road ahead. It's going to be one-on-one, Crafton and Bottoms. Rodgers is also in the fight as well. Do not count him out. As we are halfway through this race, 33 laps completed here at Concord.
And this is a little bit further down the field. Jonas Seeger, he's trying to make up a move around the outside then on Alex Harris. He's going to do that one with ease. And look at this. This is a battle for 4th place. It's Owen Watts and Mills then. Jeff Mills, he's going to make that move up on the inside, but we got to focus back here in the race lead because they're nearly side by side.
Crafton is sticking his nose on bottom as they head through turn 1. We got our cars in the pits. That's Alex C. Harris. And just look at this. I gotta appreciate this pack racing happening back here. Brian Zimmerman all up in this. He's got Ethan Souza, but back up front, Crafton trying around the outside line and just dancing on the gearbox of Bottoms. And here goes Crafton, setting it onto the bottom of Bottoms. And Crafton, can he get the power out 3 wide? But no, Bottoms is still holding him out, but Crafton is still there. They almost touch on turn 1, but it's still Bottoms and Crafton at front. But look at Rodgers. Rodgers has been making his way back up there, and the top 3 are all nose to tail halfway through this race.
They're all so close here. And just to give you a bit of perspective, let's go on board. Let's go to our blimp cam here very, very quickly, and you could just see how populated this racetrack really is. I mean, there is nearly no space available for absolutely anyone. But we'll jump back here to our TV coverage, and you can see now Blake Bottoms, he's actually kind of got a bit of an advantage here over Michael Crafton, but that advantage isn't lasting long. But look at who Crafton's bringing with him. He's got Aaron Rodgers all up behind him now.
Yeah, remember, Crafton has that damage, but it's not really affecting him that much. Rodgers is all clean, and I think the championship leader is just sitting there waiting for something to happen and just surviving these next 8 minutes left in Concord before he goes for his move.
Certainly could be the case, and I mean, he, like you said, he's got the bigger picture to think about. He's got a championship that he's fighting for. He doesn't want to make a silly move and cost himself a potential top 3 this evening. I mean, it makes more sense for him just to, if he has to, sit down in 3rd place and not put the car on the wall in the 2nd round of the series.
The biggest picture, though, is Michael Crafton, because he's unranked in this championship. He doesn't have a single point to his name. This race and the next 3 races are going to be all of his championship points decided, and he is pressuring for the lead, trying to go for that big old 43. And you saw he got a little bit of contact with Blake Bottoms, and he's damaged his front nose, and he hits him again.
So we have a lot of contact here towards the front with your race leaders at this point. Michael Crafton, it looks like he's going for the bumper then, a Blake Bottoms. He's sick and tired of sitting behind him. And keep in mind, we still have another 6.5 minutes to go. We're just over halfway through this race.
It's fitting that Blake Bottoms is in a crash test dummy car, because he is getting a big old bump and test in that crash test vehicle, but it's currently sitting at P1. But Crafton is trying to upset that crash car and set him into the fence in a very unsporting way. But Crafton, the way he's been bumping him is certainly that, but look at the blocking by Bottoms.
Bottoms really having to defend here from Michael Crafton. And at this point, I think it's going to be a really difficult task here for Crafton to get by Blake Bottoms. He almost needs the help of the lap traffic once again, because right now Blake Bottoms is doing an incredible job of defending here for Michael Crafton.
Speaking of lap traffic, where is it? It's all in one giant pack. Let's fly it up to the blink cam to see how close they are to coming up to this massive gaggle of cars. And you get to see on how close they are and how little small of a track that these guys are occupying compared to the massive amount of track these other contenders are. But here comes Crafton. Here comes Crafton down the front straight, heading into turn 1. Bottoms trying to push him down to the bottom, but Crafton turns him a little bit, and Crafton takes the lead. Bottoms has saved it. Aaron Rodgers went onto the apron, and he is still in 2nd place. Crafton in the lead. Rodgers sinking down into P2, and Bottoms and Rodgers are fighting and trying to stay and keep it clean, but Crafton in the lead, followed up by Rodgers and Bottoms. Great save by Bottoms, and here comes Jeff Mills. It's now a 4-car fight for the lead.
And you know now that if Blake Bottoms gets back to the rear bumper of Michael Crafton, he certainly won't be driving him nicely. There's most likely Michael Crafton can find himself a one-way ticket to the fence here today. But we'll have to see if that kind of affected Blake Bottoms a little bit. I mean, he nearly got turned. What driving, though, by him. But look at this. Jeff Mills now all over the back of Blake Bottoms. That means that now, like you said, we have a 4-way fight for the lead, and now a possible new race-winning contender here with just under 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, Bottoms have a lot of damage to that rear end of the car, because that's how he's getting just pushed on. He was getting a lot of bump drafting, even though he can't really do that here. And now Mills is pressuring Bottoms. As you can see, that number 89 camoed car just dancing on the rear bumper of Blake Bottoms. Rodgers has fallen away from Crafton, and Crafton driving that heavily icy flamed car from the rest of the field, but now they're hitting up the lap traffic. This is where Crafton shines, as we saw him just picking his way through the lap traffic with 4 minutes left here at Concord.
And as we wind through the final few laps, we're currently 53 laps into this event. The tires will be screaming here. And we'll see if Michael Crafton's able to get by the lap traffic the same way he was. We got a slow car down in the bottom. I'm not quite sure who that was, but we'll jump back here to your race leaders. Michael Crafton, he's slicing his way through the lap traffic, and this is actually extending his race lead out quite a bit.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers needs to do whatever he can, as there's a big contact, bottoms into the wall.
Blake Bottoms skids off the wall, then that's going to allow Jeff Mills to get down to the bottom of him. So maybe that contact that Bottoms had just a few laps ago is a little bit bigger than we thought, but he still is able to hang it around the outside, and he'll keep a hold of third.
Lap traffic is staying away from the bottom of the track, and they are staying out. They're just staying all the way up there, but these guys are going nose to nose with them and almost rubbing paint on the side pods and trading paints with them. But Rodgers and Crafton are still with each other, and the battle for third between Bottoms and Mills is still as hot as ever with just 2 minutes to go.
And keep in mind, 2 minutes to go is still a lot of laps here in this race today. That is for sure. There is not a whole lot of time and actual time itself left, but we have quite a few laps left to run. We'll nearly, I would say, do close to maybe 6 or 7 laps in that amount of time. So there's still a lot of time for things to happen here at Concord. It's a very difficult circuit, this one is, especially when the tires are this old. On these MX-5s, they're not built to run on these ovals, but they're running it here today. There's someone up in the outside catch fence. Not quite sure who that was, but we'll see here in just a moment. It was Austin Harris, so he's up into the outside. Alex Harris, sorry, he's up in the outside catch fence. But right now, with just 1 minute and 20 seconds to go, I don't think anyone here could touch Michael Crafton.
Oh, car on the wall. That's the number 50 machine of... Well, I'm trying to search for it, but he's despawned right now. That was Bruce Rodgers in there. I thought it was Aaron Rodgers, but no. Michael Crafton, he slowed up to see that, and now here comes Aaron Rodgers. 1 minute left here at Concord for the YAS Racing Association with A51 Community Racing Series here at Concord in the MX-5 Championship, round 2 out of 4.
And after this, we'll be halfway through the championship, and we will have quite the season that we already have had. We have 2 more 20-minute races after this one. Next round will be at Laguna Seca, and then the final one will be at USA International to cap off the season. But with just 20 seconds left to go, we should see white flag in the air this time by.
White flag waves, Crafton takes it, he knows he's at the ending finishing line. Rodgers is on his tail, it's Crafton and Rodgers. 2 corners remain, 1 corners remain. The very final corner for this race at Concord, and taking round number 2 victory is going to be Michael Crafton.
Aaron Rodgers will come home in second with Blake Bottoms down in third. Jeff Mills fourth, and Owen Watts, that's your top 5. But everyone, most of the way, at least, has survived. We only had 4 not finishers here today, so overall, pretty good from all the drivers. Austin, take us through our final race results.
Our race results for this crazy race for the A51 YAS Community Series here at Concord. It's Michael Crafton taking the victory, followed up by Aaron Rodgers and Blake Bottoms. The championship leader, Aaron Rodgers, now extends his lead to Jeff Mills by 3 points. He's ahead of Jeff Mills is current P2 competitor Owen Watts. So they are also being separated as well. So top 5 are all championship contenders as always, and they're followed up by Brian Svesky, Brian Zimmerman, Scott Dodd, Jake Brooks, Ethan Souza, Josh Goslin, Bradley Dio, Austin Bloke, Nick Barcet, Jonas Seeger, Andrew Gasoffin, Rachel Williams, Scott Yost, Rocky Hartpence, Douglas McLaughlin, Alex C. Harris, Dwayne Kinner, Bruce Rogers, Jamode Banks, Jeremy Root, Eric Whiting, and these guys are celebrating that they went through chaos and back, and the front straight now looks like it looks like Monster Jam.
Yeah, it certainly is quite the scene here today, but let's go back and let's look at the incident between Michael Crafton and Blake Bottoms here. This was one of the race deciding incidents.
It was just a push. Like, Crafton went up onto the inside and just pretty much pushed him out. It may be looking a little bit dirty from Crafton's perspective and the rest of the people. And he had nowhere to go, but it was just nowhere to go. I don't know if the stewards are going to penalize Crafton at all. He does have 2 more races to go, and that's very heartbreaking for Blake Bottoms, but he did come across in P3 and sitting P14 in the championship. That is definitely going to help him because round 1 might be his drop round, and he'll be up there for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it may just certainly be. We're going to go over to a quick ad break here just before we get into the interviews time. When we come back, interviews for round 2 of the YAS Racing Association here from Concord.
And we are back with Aaron Rodgers after that crazy race. Aaron, walk us through that race and what happened throughout there, because you started pretty low on the grid and, well, you finished P2.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't start too far back. I think we started 5th. A couple rows back, didn't have a great qualifying lap, but just tried to stay patient, pick a few off early, and then just try to settle in and try to save some tires, which that did not work out. Michael did a much better job of that than I did, and then he started coming pretty quick.
We saw you hanging around that fight for the lead in that 3-way fight at the back. A lot of it, was that just a strategy waiting for something to happen between Blake Bottoms and Michael, or was that just pace and where you just settled in?
I think it's a little bit of everything there. I mean, Michael was definitely faster than I was. When he pulled up on me, I just let him go. He was a little bit aggressive, and I was thinking that potentially he would get into to Blake and maybe open the door for me, which he did. But I don't know how Blake saved that going into turn 2. That was incredible. But I just didn't have anything left there at the end. I mean, I got some fortunate breaks with lap cars that held Michael up, but it just wasn't enough. I didn't have anything left for him. Didn't have any right front to speak of.
It certainly was a big save for the crash test car. Blake Bottoms, and very nice that he did get a podium with that save as well. Well, I want to talk to you about the lap traffic. Was the lap traffic being very comfortable, very easy with y'all just sticking to one part of the track, or did you have to dice your way through a few tricky spots?
I mean, the trickiest part with Concord is there's a bunch of different ways you can take these corners. I mean, I was running turn three way different than Blake or Michael, and holding time with them. So it's tough. I mean, most of the lappers got out of the way, but I mean, at the end of the day, some of these cars they take some damage and then they get hard to hold on to. So some lappers got in the way, but I mean, it's no different than anything else. At the end of the day, these are glorified enduros, so you just got to try and pick your way through. I mean, not everything's going to be perfect for you as a leader.
You got through 64 wonderful laps. You did say that this race was a enduro, and it honestly was a very clean enduro. We were making some jokes throughout the race week. I know me and a few other people in the YAS community were looking forward to this race, and we're making some Tuesday, bring your kids, Super Monster Jam action show happening, but it was actually very
Right.
clean. Was there a pre-race pet talk by some people?
Yeah, I mean, Rachel got in and just again, I mean, the trickiest part with this car is the new tire model, and you got track temperatures up over 110. So the first couple laps are just you're on ice, until the tires actually come up to temperature. So we had a little powwow before the race and just said everybody just give and take a little bit on the first couple laps and then get to racing. But I think that's about as clean as you can hope to have this many MX5s on a triangular track this size. I think that's as clean as we could probably hope for.
It was probably the cleanest race ever on this track on iRacing. So I
Probably.
believe y'all made history with that. Also, that brings the first oval round to a close. The next oval is the season finale at USA International. Next round is Laguna Seca. It's a pretty standard track for MX5s. How do you think that race is going to play out?
Honestly, I think that's probably my weakest track. I've got a lot of track time at Daytona and Concord. Again, I'm mainly an oval driver, so I'm not. This isn't too unusual, but I think Laguna is probably going to be the wild card for me. But USA is a good place to end it. We'll get a little bit of draft there, but it's going to be fun. I think you'll probably have more carnage at USA than you did.
Well, you got 43 points in round one, 42 here today. You are still sitting pretty at the top of the championship table. Before we let you go, Aaron, how do you, anyone want to shout out?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody in the A51 community, most of the drivers in here are all members of that. I peeled off my paint scheme and put on the Baja Blast colors from PJE Designs and let Rachel run the A51 scheme. I stole it from her week one. So, but again, everybody in the A51 community, all the admins, mods, and everybody helps make the Discord function, and Rachel for putting this series on, friends and family, and I think that'll do it.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. Congrats on to a great podium. Hopefully, we see you on top of there next round and you have a good, clean rest of the week and a relaxing one.
Here's hoping.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Aaron Rodgers in the interview room, and we are done with our interview. So, Tyler, any closing thoughts?
Next round of Laguna Seca certainly going to be an exciting one. Then we will cap off the season down at USA International in Florida. So this is going to be quite the last two rounds of the season. The championship is going to be close to the top with only 1 point separating all the drivers due to the point structure. So it's definitely going to be a close next two rounds. We're now halfway done with this championship. Unfortunately, I actually won't get to be the producer for that final round, but I will be here for the next one. So we will get to see how everything shapes up in towards the final round next time at Laguna Seca, which I think could be the biggest wild card of the season.
It definitely is being a road course and a proper road course. It will bring the cream of the crop road racers of this mostly oval community, but we will have to see. Tune in next week at 9 p.m. Eastern here on Apex Racing TV for another round of the A51 YAS Racing Association Community MX5 Series. I've been joined by Tyler Maxson. I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.